All right, you degenerates, welcome back to the deep dive. This time, we're going balls deep into the world of Emmanuel Macron. France's boy wonder, philosopher king. Went from zero to hero in the blink of an eye. We're talking Rothschild's banker to president of the republic. The kind of glow up that'll make your head spin. So buckle up, buttercup, because we're about to dissect this slick motherfucker's rise to power and expose the real story. The one behind the perfectly coiffed facade.
Yeah, it's true that Macron's trajectory is pretty damn unique. This isn't some trust fund kid waltzing into the Élysée Palace. Born in 77, no political dynasty, the dude actually studied philosophy. Not exactly the typical breeding ground for presidents, is it? It's like something out of a bad political satire.
Almost as if someone said, hey, let's take a philosopher, throw him into the cutthroat world of French politics, and see what the fuck happens.
Yeah.
I'm half expecting a punchline here, but the joke's on us because this guy actually became president. But let's rewind a bit. Before the Élysée Palace selfies and the power lunches with Putin, Macron was grinding away in the world of finance. He was a senior civil servant, then jumped ship to become an investment banker at Rothschild & Co. Yeah, those Rothschilds. You know what they say about those guys? They don't just make friends. They cultivate connections that can move mountains. Or in Macron's case, maybe even nations.
His early career is a crucial piece of the puzzle. Those connections he forged in the upper echelons of finance, the skills he honed navigating the world of high-stakes deals, they undoubtedly played a role in his meteoric rise. It's not just about who you know, it's about understanding how power flows and how to leverage it to your advantage, and Macron seems to have mastered that game early on.
Okay, so we've got a philosophy-spouting banker with a Rolodex thicker than a Parisian phone book. Sounds like the setup for a heist movie, not a political drama.
Yeah.
But hold on to your berets because things are about to get even more interesting. In 2006, our boy Macron crosses paths with François Hollande, the future president of France, tries to run as a socialist candidate in 2007, and gets slapped down, rejected hard. Can you imagine that? The future president couldn't even get elected locally at first. Talk about a reality check.
It's a classic underdog story, right? But then, boom, Minister of Economics at 36, President at 39. It's enough to make you spit out your croissant and say, what the actual fuck just happened?
Yeah. The speed of his ascent is mind-boggling. It's like he hacked the political system and found the cheat codes.
Seriously, did this dude sell his soul to the devil or something? Because that's a power move that would make Machiavelli blush. Maybe not the devil, but he definitely knew how to play the game. Macron's a master strategist, a chess player in a world of checkers. Take the Macron law. He rammed through in 2015, economic liberalization, pissed off the unions, but it jump-started the economy. The guy's not afraid to break some eggs to make an omelet.
Yeah, he's got balls. That's for damn sure. Remember that handshake with Trump? Those two were practically trying to squeeze the life out of each other's hands. And then there's that meeting with Putin where he straight up called out Russian media, called them lying propaganda. Not exactly diplomatic, but it definitely sent a message. This is a guy who doesn't back down from a fight, even when it's with a bear-wrestling, shirtless dictator.
Yeah. Yeah, those moments were defining for Macron's foreign policy. They show he's willing to challenge the status quo, throw some punches on the global stage. He wants France to be a power player, not just a passive observer. He's not content with sipping wine and eating cheese while the world burns around him. He wants France to be a leader, a force to be reckoned with.
All right, but let's not forget the shitstorms he's weathered at home. The Benalla affair.
Yeah.
The yellow vest protests. This dude's had his fair share of controversies. It's not all champagne and croissants in the Élysée Palace.
The Benalla affair was a major scandal. One of Macron's security aides was caught on camera beating up a protester, and the whole thing was swept under the rug. It raised serious questions about abuse of power and tarnished Macron's image. It showed that even a supposedly squeaky clean leader can have skeletons in the closet.
And the yellow vests. They were pissed, man. Taking to the streets, burning shit down, protesting everything from fuel taxes to economic inequality. It was like the French Revolution 2.0, and Macron had to walk a tightrope to quell the unrest.
Yeah, the Yellow Vest protests were a major challenge to his presidency. They exposed the deep divisions in French society, urban versus rural, the wealthy versus the working class. Macron tried to respond with a mix of concessions and crackdowns, but it left a lot of people feeling unheard and disillusioned. It showed that even a supposedly brilliant technocrat can struggle to connect with the anger and frustration of ordinary people.
So is Macron a political genius who can navigate international diplomacy and domestic turmoil? Or is he just a lucky asshat who happened to be in the right place at the right time? Because let's be real, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
That's a million-euro question, isn't it? We've seen him make bold moves, both successes and blunders. He's got ambition and charisma, but also a tendency to be aloof and out of touch. He can come across as arrogant and condescending, especially to those who disagree with him. He's a bit like a high-performance sports car. Sleek, powerful, and impressive to look at, but maybe not the most comfortable ride for everyone.
Damn. That's some deep shit right there. And just to be clear, you lovely degenerates listening, we're just scratching the surface here. This Macron dude is like an onion, lots of layers, and some of them might make you cry. But stick with us, because it's about to get even more interesting. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the economy. Is Macron the savior of French capitalism, or is he driving the country straight into a ditch?
Macron's economic policies have been a subject of intense debate. He's a pro-business, pro-EU kind of guy. He's pushed through reforms to make the labor market more flexible, cut taxes for corporations, and generally try to attract foreign investment. He's basically trying to make France more competitive in the global economy, but his critics argue that he's doing it at the expense of workers and the welfare state.
So is he a neoliberal shill selling out the French people to the highest bidder? Or is he a visionary leader trying to modernize the economy for the 21st century? Let's cut the crap and get to the real question. Is this shit working?
It's a mixed bag. There have been some positive results. Unemployment has gone down, economic growth has picked up, and France has attracted some big-name investments. But there are also signs of trouble. Inequality is rising, wages are stagnating, and many people feel like they're being left behind. The Yellow Vest protests were a clear sign that Macron's economic policies weren't working for everyone.
Yeah, let him eat cake doesn't usually play well with the masses. But let's be real. Every president faces economic challenges. It's like a giant game of whack-a-mole. You solve one problem, another one pops up.
Yeah.
What sets Macron apart from his predecessors? Is he doing anything truly different, or is it just the same old bullshit in a fancy suit?
Macron argues that he's breaking with the past, that he's not afraid to challenge the status quo and make tough decisions. He's a reformer, a modernizer, a disruptor. He sees himself as a leader who's not bound by ideology, but who's willing to do whatever it takes to get results. Whether you agree with his methods or not, you can't deny that he's trying to shake things up.
Okay, so he's not afraid to ruffle some feathers. But is he actually making France better, or is he just making himself look good in the process? Let's move beyond the rhetoric and look at some specific policies. What's he done that's actually made a difference in people's lives?
He's made some significant changes, for better or worse. He's overhauled the labor code, making it easier for companies to hire and fire workers. He's cut taxes for businesses and wealthy individuals. He's invested in education and technology. He's tried to streamline the bureaucracy and make the government more efficient. He's even tackled some thorny social issues, like same-sex marriage and climate change.
Hold up. Back it up a second. Didn't he piss off a bunch of environmentalists by backing down on a fuel tax hike? That doesn't sound very progressive.
He did, and it was a major turning point in his presidency. It showed that he's not immune to public pressure, that he's willing to compromise or even backtrack when faced with widespread opposition. It also revealed the limits of his technocratic approach. Sometimes governing is about more than just numbers and spreadsheets. It's about understanding people's emotions and responding to their concerns.
So he's not just a cold, calculating machine. There's actually a human being under that perfectly tailored suit.
There is, but he doesn't always show it. Macron's biggest challenge is connecting with ordinary people, showing them that he understands their struggles and that he's working for their benefit. He's often perceived as aloof, arrogant, and out of touch with the realities of everyday life. He needs to find a way to bridge that gap, to show that he's not just the president of the elite, but the president of all French people.
We're back, you degenerates, and we're diving into the deep end of Macron's world, his foreign policy. This is where shit gets really interesting, because we get to see how this smooth-talking philosopher-banker handles himself on the global stage. Is he playing checkers while everyone else is playing chess? Or is he just another clueless politician stumbling around in the dark?
Macron's foreign policy is where his ambition really shines. He wants France to be a top dog in the world, a leader in Europe, a force to be reckoned with globally. He's not content with just being the cheese and wine guy. He wants to be taken seriously as a power player.
So he's got a Napoleon complex, thinks he can conquer Europe with baguettes and berets. Let's be real. France hasn't exactly been a dominant force on the world stage for a while now.
France may not be the empire it once was, but it's still a major player. They've got a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. They're a nuclear power. And they have a significant military presence around the world. Macron's just trying to leverage those assets, make France relevant again.
Okay, fair enough. So what's his grand plan? How's he going to make France great again?
He's been hustling on the diplomatic front, that's for sure. Jet-setting all over the globe, meeting with world leaders, trying to broker deals on everything from climate change to nuclear proliferation. He's also pushing for a more integrated and assertive European Union, a bloc that can stand up to the US and China.
So he wants to turn the EU into a superpower. Good luck with that. The EU's like a dysfunctional family reunion. Everyone's got their own agenda. Nobody wants to pay for the drinks.
It's a long shot, for sure, but Macron believes that a strong EU is essential for Europe's security and prosperity in the 21st century. He's trying to rally the troops, convince other European leaders that they need to stick together if they want to survive in a world dominated by giants like China and the US.
All right, let's get down to brass tacks. What are some of the biggest foreign policy challenges Macron's facing right now?
Well, the war in Ukraine is obviously a major headache. Macron's trying to balance support for Ukraine with the need to maintain some kind of dialogue with Russia. It's a tightrope walk, and one wrong step could send the whole thing crashing down.
Yeah, Putin doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who's open to compromise. It's like trying to reason with a rabid bear. You might get a word in edgewise, but you're probably going to get mauled in the process.
Another challenge is the rise of China. Macron sees China as both a partner and a rival. He wants to cooperate on issues like climate change and trade, but he's also wary of China's growing economic and military might. It's a delicate balancing act, trying to be friends with the dragon while also making sure it doesn't burn down your house.
So he's playing that frenemy game. That's a dangerous game, my friend. 1 minute you're sharing a bottle of wine, the next minute you're getting stabbed in the back.
He's also facing challenges in Africa. France has a long and complicated history in Africa, and Macron's trying to redefine the relationship. He wants to move away from the old colonial model and build a more equal partnership based on mutual respect and economic cooperation.
Let's cut the crap. Isn't France still exploiting Africa for its resources? They're just putting a new spin on the same old colonial bullshit.
France still has significant economic interests in Africa. That's undeniable. But Macron's trying to shift the focus towards development, investment, and security cooperation. He's also trying to address the legacy of colonialism and acknowledge past wrongs.
Okay, so he's trying to be the good guy in Africa. But let's be real, it's all about power and influence, right? France wants to maintain its grip on its former colonies, even if it means playing nice and pretending to be all about equality and partnership.
There's definitely an element of realpolitik at play here. France is trying to protect its interests in a region that's becoming increasingly important strategically and economically. But Macron is also trying to do it in a way that's more nuanced and sophisticated than his predecessors. He's trying to build relationships, not just dictate terms.
All right, let's wrap this up with a final assessment of Macron's foreign policy. Is he a brilliant strategist who's outmaneuvering his rivals? Or is he a delusional narcissist who's leading France down a dangerous path? Give it to us straight, Doc.
It's still too early to tell. Macron's a complex and enigmatic figure. He's ambitious, intelligent, and charismatic. But he's also arrogant, aloof, and prone to miscalculations. Only time will tell what his legacy will be.
Well, that's a pretty fucking ambiguous conclusion. But hey, that's Macron in a nutshell, isn't it? The guy's a walking paradox. He's a smooth-talking charmer who can also be a ruthless asshole. He's a champion of liberal values who's not afraid to crack down on dissent. He's a globalist who also wants to make France great again. He's a puzzle wrapped in an enigma, drenched in champagne, and served with a side of existential angst.
He's a product of his time, a leader who's trying to navigate a world that's increasingly complex and unpredictable. Whether you love him or hate him, you can't ignore him. He's a major player on the world stage, and his decisions will have a profound impact on all of our lives.
All right, you magnificent bastards. That's it for our deep dive into the mind of Emmanuel Macron. We explored his rise to power, his economic policies, his handling of domestic crises, and his foreign policy maneuvers. We dissected his contradictions, exposed his flaws, and marveled at his audacity. We laughed, we cried, we spilled some wine, and we learned a thing or two about this fascinating and frustrating leader.
Remember, dear listeners, the world is a messy and complicated place, and there are no easy answers. Stay informed, stay critical, and don't be afraid to question those in power.
And most importantly, don't take yourselves too seriously. Life's too short to be a self-righteous prick. Go out there, have some fun. Make sure to raise a glass to the glorious absurdity of it all. Cheers, motherfuckers. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.